From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben, you are you, and you are here, and that makes this stuff they don't want you to know. Of course, where would we be without our super producer, Paul Decant?
Mission Control.
That is one of his many names. I asked Paul how many names he had one time, and in my head he said, my names are Legion.
But in reality, he just looked at you and shook his head.
Yeah.
Walked away.
Yeah,
He's a
you were
very cryptic
there.
creature. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we didn't have Mission Control, we'd just be floating out here in space amongst all these conspiracies and mysteries and not
Rudderless.
knowing what we're doing. There's no systems control. Like,
Yeah.
who's watching? I don't know. Let's name a system. The variable flight channel conduit.
Yeah.
What was that? Is
it.
that an acronym?
I don't know.
No, he's getting the technobabble.
Yeah, I don't know the terms, but
Okay.
you know,
So-
if we would just be aimless.
We would be aimless, and we could potentially be hit, broadsided, dare we say, by some sort of conspiracy asteroid cluster.
Right?
Absolutely. And the interesting thing about this is that we're talking about surprises today. We're talking about unpleasant surprises. And along the way, we're going to bust a few myths, I would say, that we in the U.S. tend to have about our fine neighbors to the north, the Canadians.
This one's kind of fun, though, right?
Yeah, this is not going to be one of those where you turn off your podcast listening device
Right.
and sit in the dark for a while, hopefully.
Yeah,
I
this
just
is
saw we got an email the other day where someone was like, "Hey guys, love you, but can you tone it down a little bit?
Yeah,
It's been kind of heavy."
I
give
saw
us
that one
give us
last night,
something
yeah.
silly or weird.
Here we go.
So Canada is the Commonwealth country to the north of the continental United States, and it is often depicted as the more friendly side of North American culture.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you've ever traveled abroad, depending upon the political climate of the place you visit, you'll hear a lot of Americans, myself included, pretend to be Canadian.
Sure.
It was a little easier before the advent of the internet.
They're like the Swiss,
Kind
They're
of,
just
yeah.
sort of neutral, friendly, earth-respecting neighbors to the north.
Just sew a patch on your backpack that has a maple leaf, away you go.
Considerable contributions to American comedy.
No doubt.
Oh,
are you kidding
God,
me?
yes.
The best.
My
Yeah.
goodness.
It's weird. It's sort of the way that some of the best literature in the English language is written by Russians. Some of the best comedy in the English language, or some of the best comedy in the U.S. at least, is made entirely by Canadians.
On par with the Brits, but you also have a lot of like Canadian expats that go to places like Chicago and the whole Second City thing. But then you have, your Kids in the Hall and all that. But really, really influential stuff.
And it's no surprise that people would see Canada as a more friendly version of the U.S. Because despite sharing a common tongue and despite the fact that we're on the same continent, we have this enormous, relatively friendly land border, Canada and the U.S. are two related, but more importantly, two very different cultures. Like the U.S., the Canadian government was heavily concerned with the possibility of the Cold War becoming an active, open conflict pretty much after World War II ended and on.
Well, and specifically because they have a proximity problem where if it becomes a hot war.
That's true. That's true. Up there in Canada's northwest, right?
Yeah, nuclear fallout would find its way to them if the U.S. got bombed.
So that's one of our myths that we find in the very beginning of this show. This stereotype of all Canadian people somehow being the nicest, kindest people on earth, and that somehow equating to a super nice, super kind government.
Ah, yes, okay.
I think the operative term you just used there, Ben, is on Earth. No one is safe from assholes on this planet.
Or, self-serving needs for a government or, a military.
I'm just saying
or,
it's easy to lump a group of people in and say, with a sample size of the few Canadians I've met in person or seen on television, they're all like that, obviously. Yeah, no, there's the same avarice and weirdness and self-servingness that, you see everywhere else on this
But
crazy planet.
of course, if you're listening to this and are currently in Canada or are from Canada, we are assured that you are probably one of the nicest people listening to the show right now.
Specifically you.
Yes,
Of course.
So
By
thank you.
association, we're all hanging out together. We're all the best.
So the thing is, in the past, we have looked at some of the skeletons in Uncle Sam's closet. We've done so at length. We've found some terrifying stuff. We found some entirely absurd stuff, right? Like the various plans to kill Castro and so on, which are just Rube Goldberg-esque. And today we're looking at something that a lot of U.S. citizens are probably not aware of, or possibly not aware of, which is that the Canadian government was at heart no different from the U.S. government. They found themselves doing some absurd things to address the fear of the spread of communism. And the story that we encounter today would honestly be, in my opinion, hilarious were it not true and disturbing. This may contain language that some folks in the audience might find offensive. I just want to put that out there. Because what do we always hear? It was a different time.
It was a different time.
Right.
And the time we're talking about is in the late 50s and early 60s.
Right. Yeah. Canada had a problem. They were trying to make sure that they did not have moles, leakers, spies, right? And they were doing all the things a government does to try to prevent that. Background checks, investigations, running your financial records. But they thought there was a particular group of people that was an active national security threat. People who were attracted to the same gender.
I'm sorry, why?
They thought that homosexuality was a huge threat because they essentially thought these people would be easy to turn. In the 50s, early 60s, Canada's security panel told the prime minister at the time, John Diefenbaker, that, quote, gay people needed to be removed from public office because they are weak, unreliable, and easily compromised.
So he sees them as like degenerates or in some way having no scruples.
In my opinion, I think it's because there was such social stigma about being homosexual at that time that it would make you prone to blackmail.
Yeah.
So,
that's certainly a
they would
side
have
of it.
dirt on you.
I got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So you think that's the main thing?
I mean, I think that's one of them. There are several, but one of them is to that effect.
But the language, though, here seems to imply a almost personal resentment of said individuals.
Yeah,
There's
because
that too.
I think the government is composed of people that live within the society they attempt to govern, so
Right.
they suffer from that same stigma.
These guys are outliers. These
Right.
people are,
Yeah, so I think it's hand in hand. It might be one of those. It may have been one of those things where the official reasons were presented as these people could be blackmailed,
Right.
but the internal emotional motivation was like, don't trust them.
Get them out. Don't want them.
Don't like them. I'm against it. Those are two of our
The Canadian redneck voice.
two of our completely accurate Canadian voices here. Canadian redneck voices.
It's just like that, but it's followed by a.
Right.
No, that's bad.
Well, I think we'll run into some more accents along the way. They took this so seriously that they formed a special group within the RCMP, which stands for, of course,
the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
and we had an off-air discussion about this too.
Yeah. Like, are they, like, the mountedness of them, is that a requirement? Is that a sign of respect? Do they ride moose?
Oh, sure, yes.
Which part?
All of it.
No. I was wrong about the moose. It's fine. You can take me to task. Please, in fact, I insist.
I'll let our Canadian
Brethren.
the person listening to this right now that is typing the email.
It's going to be so polite and friendly, though, just shredding me in the most low-key way.
Hey, yeah, we don't ride the moose anymore.
They never did. It was a horse thing, right?
Yeah.
Just get a brief history of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I think it's fascinating.
Only sergeants and above are allowed to mount the moose.
And today,
Misinfo.
This is an active law enforcement agency. They prevent, investigate crime. They maintain peace and order, enforce laws. They contribute to national security even today.